My senior manager laughed while assigning weekend work and said loud enough for the whole floor, "Give it to her. She doesn't have a life anyway." People laughed uncomfortably as I sat frozen in embarrassment. I took every assignment, stayed late, and documented every overtime abuse until I had enough for a formal complaint. He was demoted, I got paid, and everyone suddenly remembered how valuable I was. I work in operations at a mid-sized logistics company in Naperville, Illinois. The kind of place with gray carpets, bad coffee, and a bunch of people pretending to care about spreadsheets more than they actually do. I'm 38, single, no kids, and yeah, I guess from the outside it looks like I don't have much of a life. But that doesn't mean I'm nobody. I used to just show up, do my job, and go home. I didn't complain. I didn't make waves. I figured if I stayed quiet and worked hard, people would respect that. I was wrong. My manager, Craig Daniels, made sure of that. Craig's in his late 40s. Big talker. Fake tan. Always talking about his golf swing or his Tesla like anyone cared. He thought he was charming. He wasn't. He liked to put people down in ways that were just subtle enough that you couldn't report him for it. He never said anything openly cruel, but he didn't have to. He made you feel small without raising his voice. And somehow, everyone let him get away with it. The day everything changed was a Friday afternoon. It had been a brutal week. Back-to-back meetings, missing data from vendors, systems going down. We were all tired. I remember I hadn't even had lunch that day. We were just finishing up a team meeting when Craig suddenly said, "Oh, almost forgot. We've got those audit reports due Monday. Gotta be done this weekend." A few people muttered, but no one spoke up. Then Craig looked around the room and said with a big smile, "Give it to her. She doesn't have a life anyway." People laughed. Not in a fun way. In a weird, uncomfortable way. Like they didn't know whether to laugh or leave. I froze. My ears burned. I could feel my hands shaking under the table. I looked around and nobody said anything. Craig just grinned and said, "Right, Alexis?" I didn't say anything. Just nodded, took the files and walked out. I went home that night and cried. Not because of the work. I could do that in my sleep. I cried because of how he said it. Because everyone laughed. Because he was right. I was the office ghost. The one who never said no. The one they all forgot had feelings. I thought about quitting. Then I thought, no. I'm going to stay. And I'm going to remember everything. I became what he thought I was, the quiet one. The doormat. The yes person. But inside I started keeping records. Every overtime shift. Logged. Every weekend project. Noted. Every comment that crossed the line. Written down word for word. Every time someone laughed along with him. Remembered. I didn't tell anyone what I was doing. I just kept smiling. I stayed late. I answered emails at 10 p.m. I took on assignments from other people when they said they were too busy. Craig loved it. He got lazier. More open with his comments. He'd walk by my desk at 8 p.m. and say things like, "Still here? Don't you have Netflix or something?" Or, "You should charge us rent." One night I stayed until almost midnight fixing a report he had given me with wrong numbers. When I handed it in the next morning, he said, "Took you long enough." He laughed. I didn't. Around June, I started preparing my file. I printed emails. I exported Slack messages. I had spreadsheets with clock in and clock out times. I had screenshots. I backed it all up in 3 places: USB, cloud, and a private Gmail folder. Then in July, he tried to write me up. There was a formatting issue in a report. Nothing wrong with the data, just a font he didn't like. He called me into his office and said, "You've been slipping. You okay?" I knew that tone. It was a setup. He said, "Consider this a verbal warning." I just looked at him and said, "Okay, I'll make a note of this." His face twitched. "Why would you do that?" "Just for my records." He didn't laugh that time. In September, our company hired a new HR director. She wasn't from the old boys club. She didn't know Craig. I booked a meeting with her. Walked in calm with a folder and a flash drive. I didn't cry. I didn't rant. I laid it all out. 230 hours of unpaid overtime, dozens of inappropriate comments, targeted assignments, meant to overload me, screenshots of him joking about my non-existent life. She listened. Didn't smile once. Asked a few quiet questions. Then she thanked me and told me she'd look into it. 2 weeks later, Craig was gone. On leave, they said. A month later, he was demoted and shipped off to a different division in another state. Not fired, but stripped of title and power. The office suddenly got a lot quieter. Nobody laughed anymore. I didn't stop there. I filed a formal complaint through the Illinois Labor Board. With all the evidence, they didn't stand a chance. The company settled. Back pay for every overtime hour, plus a bonus I wasn't allowed to talk about. Suddenly, people at work were different. My emails got answered faster. My ideas got praised in meetings. One guy who used to laugh at Craig's jokes actually said, "I always knew you were sharp, Alexis." Liar. HR offered me a new role. More money, more responsibility, and my own office. I said yes. Now, when I leave at 5 p.m. sharp, no one says a word. I don't get jokes about my personal life. New hires come to me for advice. People remember I'm here now. But I haven't forgotten. They all laughed when he humiliated me. Now they pretend they didn't hear it. After Craig was pushed out, things were quiet for a while. Too quiet. People stopped making jokes. HR did monthly check-ins. I got invited to meetings I'd never been included in before. They acted like I was part of some inner circle now. But I didn't trust it. Not for a second. Because I know how this place works. Craig wasn't the only one who saw me as disposable. He was just the loudest. And now that he was gone, someone else was going to try to step into that power vacuum. I didn't expect it to be Angela. Angela was one of the senior analysts, early 40s, always dressed sharp. She used to pretend she liked me, brought muffins to meetings, complimented my work ethic. But I noticed how quickly she distanced herself once Craig got in trouble. She stopped talking to me directly, would loop others in on emails that should have just come to me. Subtle but intentional. Then she made her move. One Friday afternoon, almost 6 weeks after Craig was gone, my calendar pinged with a last-minute meeting invite. Quarter-end prep review. It was from Angela. I walked into the conference room and realized something was off. Angela was already sitting with 2 people from finance and a guy from procurement. I wasn't told others would be there. No agenda, no documents, just her smug face and a folder with my name on it. Angela looked up and said, "Oh good, Alexis. We were just talking about your recent role change." I sat down slow. I wasn't told this was a performance review. She smiled. "It's not. Just a check-in. We've been noticing some inconsistencies in your department's reporting." I knew right then what was happening. She was coming for me. Angela didn't like that I'd survived Craig. She didn't like that HR backed me. And she sure as hell didn't like that I now held a title higher than hers. They started going through these so-called errors in reports. Minor stuff. Things that weren't even my responsibility. Dead links in shared folders. Mismatched columns in Excel files that I didn't even own. But Angela was acting like I'd personally sabotaged the quarter-end numbers. She wasn't trying to fix anything. She was trying to build a case. I didn't argue. I didn't defend myself. I let them talk. I nodded. I wrote everything down, just like I had with Craig. When the meeting ended, Angela said, "Let's work together to get this cleaned up. Don't want anyone thinking there's favoritism now, do we?"
Esther daher.
She wanted me to snap. Wanted me to yell, to show anger. She wanted to call me difficult. But I just said, "Of course. I'll get right on it." Then I walked out and called Michelle in HR. The next week I built a second file. Angela was careful but not careful enough. I pulled emails where she reassigned tasks to junior staff under my name. I found Slack threads she deleted, but not before they were archived. I talked to the junior analyst she tried to pin one of the errors on, and he quietly sent me the original files with timestamps. It was happening all over again, except this time I was ready from the start. Angela even tried to get friendly again. Dropped by my desk with a smile one afternoon and said, "Hey, heard from Michelle you've been asking questions. Hope we're all good." I looked up at her and said, "All good. Just keeping records." She didn't smile after that. 2 days later, an anonymous HR complaint was filed against me. Said I was creating a hostile environment. that I was intimidating team members, that I'd misused confidential data. I didn't have to guess who filed it. Angela thought she was smart. She wasn't. HR asked for a response. I handed them a 12-page packet. Emails, Slack logs, project timelines, task audits. I showed how Angela tried to reassign blame for her own mistakes, how she redirected deliverables, how she looped in unnecessary people to slow my process down. Michelle read through it silently, then asked, "Do you believe this is retaliation?" I nodded. "Okay," she said. "We'll handle it." Angela was gone by the end of the month. Mutual separation, they called it. The office buzzed for weeks, but no one dared ask me directly what happened. Everyone suddenly acted like they never liked her to begin with. Same play, different actor. And me? I'm still here. Still quiet. Still taking notes. Because I've learned something they haven't. They think the quiet ones are easy targets. But the quiet ones? We're the ones who watch everything. After Angela was shown the door, you'd think they'd have learned to stop messing with me. But no. They just got sneakier. First, things were peaceful again. HR thanked me quietly for helping identify process breakdowns. My boss, now a woman named Marcy who transferred from our Milwaukee office, seemed decent. She was no nonsense, didn't play favorites, and respected clean work. But under the surface, I felt the tension shift. People started treating me differently. Not just fake polite, but cautious. Like I was radioactive. Like if they got too close, they'd catch heat from whatever they thought I was doing behind the scenes. And then one day, something strange happened. I logged into our shared drive and saw that several folders I maintained, ones I used for report templates and year-end tracking, had been deleted. Gone. Just like that. No notice. No warning. I clicked through the audit logs. Someone with admin access had wiped them clean. I flagged it. IT said it must have been accidental. But I knew better. So I started digging. That's when I found out they'd hired a new external consultant. Some guy named Jeff who came highly recommended by one of our VPs. He wasn't full-time staff, but he had system-level access. Too much access. And according to our internal directory, he wasn't reporting to Marcy. He was tied to finance. The same finance department Angela used to cozy up to. I got curious. Started asking questions. Quietly. I asked our junior dev if she could trace user activity from Jeff's logins. She hesitated but eventually sent me a list. Not officially, of course. Turns out Jeff had accessed my folders multiple times. Not just once, repeatedly. Mostly during after-hours windows. Right before they were deleted. But that wasn't the worst part. One morning I came into work and found a file on my desk. A printout. No note. Just a thick packet of my own emails. Ones that weren't meant for anyone outside my department. Some personal too. They'd been printed from my sent folder. Somebody was trying to rattle me. To show me they could get into anything. This wasn't about performance anymore. It was a setup. I went to HR again. This time Michelle wasn't there. She was on leave. Temporary, they said. Her replacement was someone new. Young. Friendly. Way too friendly. "Are you sure you're not just reading into things, Alexis?" She asked with a fake laugh after I told her about the file.
Esther daher.
Someone printed private emails and left them on my desk. Could be a joke. People play jokes sometimes. I didn't respond. I just said, "Noted," and walked out. I made a decision that night. I wasn't going to HR anymore. I was going higher. I started contacting old contacts. People from my previous job who had moved into legal compliance roles. I asked them questions about corporate privacy laws, about retaliation, about digital access misuse. I didn't name names. Just gave scenarios. One of them, a guy named Dennis, called me after reading my message and said, "If what you're describing is happening inside your company, someone's committing a federal offense." That's when I knew this had outgrown petty revenge. They weren't just trying to bury me. They were trying to erase me. So I made a backup of every single file I had. I printed logs, emails, and my own documentation and placed it in a secure envelope. I gave it to my sister in case something accidental happened to me or my accounts. I also started recording. Nothing illegal. Just taking detailed notes after meetings. Writing down who said what, when, where, backing up everything. And then, one morning, Jeff the consultant walked into my office. Without knocking. He closed the door behind him. "Hey," he said, smiling like a creep. "I heard you've been asking around about me." I didn't say anything. He walked up to my desk, leaned on it and said, "Don't take this the wrong way, but you might want to ease off. People are saying you're paranoid." I locked eyes with him. "Are you threatening me?" He grinned. "Just saying, it's easy to get a reputation. And reputations? They stick." I waited. Let the silence stretch. Then I pointed to the corner shelf behind him, where a small digital clock blinked red. "That's a voice recorder," I said. "Thanks for the visit." His face dropped. Just slightly. I didn't even have to show him whether it was real or not. He left fast. And I smiled for the first time in months. More was coming. I could feel it. And I was finally ready for all of it. After Jeff walked out of my office, everything shifted. He stopped showing up. His name disappeared from the system logs. When I asked someone in IT if he was still active, they just shrugged and said, "Must have wrapped up his contract." But I knew better. They pulled him out because I scared him. And they were scared of what I'd do next. I decided I wasn't going to wait for the next trap. I was going to bring it all down. I printed every shred of proof I had. The folder deletions, the midnight access logs, the anonymous complaint, the meeting minutes, the audio transcriptions I made after Jeff's office stunt. I laid it all out like a lawyer prepping for trial. Then I submitted a full whistleblower complaint to our corporate legal office through their third-party reporting system. I didn't sign my name at first. But then I did something risky. I followed up with an email to the general counsel of our parent company, personally. My message was clear. There has been a pattern of retaliation and internal abuse tied to two now former managers. Evidence exists of unauthorized digital access to employee files, surveillance-level intimidation, and an HR breakdown. If this is not resolved at the highest level, I will be turning over the entire file to the Illinois Department of Labor and the local press. You may want to review the enclosed documentation. Alexis Morgan. I signed my name, attached the file, and hit send. Then I turned off my phone and took a few days off. Burned vacation time. I didn't tell anyone where I went. I waited. On the fourth day, my phone rang. Blocked number. "Ms. Morgan, this is Daniel North from the Office of Corporate Integrity. We'd like to speak with you about your report." That was the beginning of the end for them. Within 2 weeks, they launched an internal investigation. A real one this time, not handled by our HR, but by external corporate auditors. Suddenly, people were getting pulled into quiet rooms. IT logs were frozen. Senior finance staff started working remotely, which everyone knew was code for lawyering up. Even Marcy, my new boss, got placed on leave. I didn't know she'd been helping cover up what Angela started. But they found out she'd signed off on the consultant's broad system access. Then came the final blow. Craig, my original manager, the one who laughed at me and said I didn't have a life, got named in the formal investigation. Turns out he'd kept in contact with Angela and was helping her push reports through a backchannel system account. The same one Jeff used. He thought by moving to another state he could stay safe. He was wrong. The legal team had pulled years' worth of emails and metadata. They tracked down shared passwords, fake file owners, and buried Slack channels. Craig was fired. Angela's license with her professional finance board was suspended for unethical conduct. Jeff got blacklisted. No big firm would touch him now. And the VP who had originally referred him? Gone. Quietly. Resigned for personal reasons. Then came my turn. They didn't just apologize. They made me an offer. A formal promotion into compliance strategy. My own team. Full autonomy. 6-figure salary. Stock options. And a public recognition email sent company-wide praising my integrity, diligence, and commitment to ethical standards. People flooded my inbox. Some sincere. Most fake. I didn't reply to any of them. I also got a cash settlement. Not hush money, but back pay and a damage award that corporate wanted to call a resolution bonus. It was enough to pay off my condo. I took it. And for the first time in years, I exhaled. Here's what surprised me though. When everything settled and I finally got what I thought I wanted, respect, money, a title, I didn't feel proud. I felt tired. I had become exactly what I never wanted to be. Someone who plays office politics, who records conversations, who prepares for war every day. I won. But it changed me. I stopped trusting easily. I kept backup drives at home. I looked over my shoulder in meetings. That's the cost of revenge, I guess. You don't walk away clean. Even if you're right. So yeah, Craig lost his career. Angela burned every bridge. Jeff disappeared. And the whole office learned that I'm not someone to laugh at. But I lost something too. The part of me that used to just want to do good work and go home in peace. Still, I'd do it again. Every minute of overtime. Every note I took. Every quiet nod while they mocked me. Because I'm still here. And they're not.